what's really important, in my view, is that people hold this dispassionate position where they look at the evidence and they look at the facts, and they don't get pulled into personalities, and they don't get pulled into people telling them what they want to hear.
Today on the Naturally Inspired podcast, we have David Icke joining us. David is an English author and leader. He has written more than 20 books that have been translated into 11 different languages. His newest book, entitled Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, is dedicated to freedom. Purchase it at davidicke.com and visit iconic.com to view original and exclusive series with groundbreaking experts. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Naturally Inspired podcast with David Icke. Thank you so much for being on the Naturally Inspired podcast again today. It's been a while since we've talked.
Yeah. I haven't stopped talking since we last stopped talking.
I know.
Which is kind of very encouraging, really, because, when I started out, trying to find anyone who wanted to listen to this stuff was near impossible.
Yeah.
I went around America for 3 months in as late as 1996, talking in people's front rooms and stuff, So wow. It was a challenge then to find anyone interested, but it's a challenge now to keep up with the interest. So that's very encouraging.
I guess that must be just so. I don't know what the feeling is for you, but it's got to be feeling a little bit of like, I told you so. Do you feel any of that? Or are you just so grateful that people are waking up?
Yeah. What I would say to people is, if you look at what's happening to me now, and what happened to me, for all these years, it's kind of showing you that if you speak your truth, you are going to get abuse. You are going to get abuse and ridicule when you speak your truth in a world of untruth, in a world of illusion and delusion and deceit. But if you don't speak your truth, and just accept that that's what's going to happen, then along the road, you're not going to be shown that your truth was true. It's no good when it happens saying, I knew this was coming. Oh yeah, sure you did. So you have to speak your truth at the time. And realize that if you look all the way through human history, as far as we know human history, speaking your truth has always been a challenge. I mean, it got you burnt at the stake at one point.
Yeah.
And so if you care about the truth, you care about factual reality, then you just have to accept that you're not going to be flavor of the month with great numbers of people. So you just say it anyway, and you take the consequences, because the consequences are necessary to get where you want to go. And eventually, if what you say has validity, if it doesn't, well, nothing's going to happen. But if it has validity, eventually it will be shown to be so.
Yeah.
Further along the road, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I was talking with someone the other day who mentioned that there's no such thing as courage, that it's really just love that gives you the courage. Is that kind of what motivated you to speak out back then? You just love for humanity, love for humans?
Well, courage is overcoming fear, of course. And there's nothing that overcomes fear more than the heart opening.
Yeah.
And there's a number of things, really. I mean, I was a journalist for years. I was a mainstream journalist, a newspaper journalist, radio journalist, television journalist. So when I came out with this stuff, I knew what was going to come. I knew what was going to happen. I knew I was going to get massive ridicule and abuse. But you reach a point where you see what's coming. And how can you look a little kid in the eye in the street? How can you look your own kids in the street, in the eyes, and have any self-respect if you know what's coming and you're not trying to make a difference to it? So and also, by the time this all started to unfold for me, I realized that there is no death. and that we are the consciousness having the experiences. We're not the experiences. We're not human except as having a human experience. We are the consciousness having that human experience, and that consciousness is indestructible. It can be transformed, it can be changed, but it's indestructible. So this whole 70 and 10, and then it's all over. Life's a bitch and then you die. I passed through all that, and so I looked at what was going to happen when I came out with this, and I thought, well, what's the worst I can do? I can make a mess of one human experience. That's what I can do. That's the worst that can happen. And they laugh at you. So they laugh at you. I mean, I'll tell people, say to people, the people that were laughing at me and pointing me out in the street in hysterics, they're now stopping me in the street and asking me what's going on. Yeah. So, just because people think something today, they'll think something else tomorrow. The important thing is your relationship with the truth, or your truth, and your relationship with yourself. And that comes down to self-respect, because self-respect is what's going to turn this tyranny around. Nothing else will. This is why they're after our self-respect. This is why they get moronic people in dark suits to tell us to do moronic things that make no sense, because if we do them, then we've handed our self-respect over.
Yeah, so, we've really seen that highlighted. We've seen highlighted that. I was so sad to see the lack of self-respect that people have on a mass scale.
It's extraordinary. I mean, I've sat in cafes and restaurants, and they had this rule that, I mean, tell me it's not true. It is. That when you walked into a restaurant, you had to be wearing a mask until you got to your table, right?
Yeah.
See,
this is the stuff I'm laughing at.
And I would sit there and I'd watch big Dutch guys, come to the door, put their mask on, walk in, sometimes take 2-3 strides, sit down and take it off.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, God. And then I'd see people come in and they're all masked up, gasping for breath. And I sit around the table and they're all in their masks, still with them on, even at the table. And then the food had come and they take them off. And then it's like, so the virus only strikes when you're not eating it.
They get up and they go to the bathroom. They get up to go to the bathroom. They've forgotten that they didn't put the mask back on. So they turn back to the table, go back and pick up the mask and then walk back to the bathroom.
People say to me, you have to wear a mask. I said, I'm not wearing a face nappy, mate.
Yeah.
Because I've got too much self-respect. All right. So it's this incapacity to string thoughts and facts together into a logical conclusion. And it's interesting that where the conclusion comes in the process tells you if you're awake or asleep. It really does. Yeah. Because if you look at the people that have just taken this jab by reflex action and do everything that the authorities tell them, their conclusion comes at the start of the process. There is no process. The conclusion is given to them. And they just take it. Whereas awakening people, they are looking at different sources of information and then forming a conclusion from that information at the end of the process. And it's a massive symbol of who's awake and who's not. And
that's an interesting concept, because I think now people are finding out after the fact, right? They're starting to, whereas that's a perfect way to describe it, the way you did. The people who are awake are, well, I'm not going to jump on this right away. Let's see what happens. And so their belief is being reinforced as we go along. Whereas people who jumped in at the beginning, it's unfolding by the day now for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was always a trap. See, I knew what was going on from the start because
Yeah.
I've been tracking these people for 30 years.
Yeah.
I know they don't do anything unless there's an agenda advantage to it.
Yeah.
And when this COVID thing started, I could see that almost limitless potential to push their agenda on using this as the excuse.
Right.
I came to the conclusion very early on, in fact, about March of 2020, that there was no virus. And I said so publicly and immediately got deleted by YouTube, followed by Facebook and Twitter and all the others. And all these months later, now we're heading into 2022 soon, I've seen nothing to revise that conclusion.
2 years.
Except confirmation of it.
Yeah.
Because
they still have not isolated.
No, well, when you talk to, we've got some funeral directors in Britain, who have spoken out and pointed out about their own experience, and they say that during the so-called pandemic and the breakout of the quote virus in the spring of 2020, when everything got locked down on a lie. The number of people dying and going through their businesses didn't change from other years. And yet, as soon as they started rolling out this jab in January, particularly January of 2021, as one said, I've never seen anything like it. So many people dying. And it's gone on. As they've gone down the age groups, the comparison with the 5-year average of the number of people dying in that age group has gone up and up and up as they've rolled out the jab to that age group. I mean, to see it's almost impossible to comprehend the scale of the lie that this is a pandemic of the unfake vaccinated.
Right.
It's the opposite.
Yes.
People are going down like ninepins all over the place with. If not directly dying, and enormous numbers are, then life-changing health effects like myocarditis and stuff. I mean, but you look at. I mean, I've followed sport since I was a kid, and so you have an experience of how many young sports people collapse and die on the playing field, or collapse with heart problems, at the age of 20, 21, 25, 30. And it's incredibly rare.
I can find one case of an NBA player collapsing on the court back in the 90s. One. That's one.
That's about right. That's about right. It's about the number.
Yeah.
But now they're just one after the other. And not once in any mainstream news report have I seen any of these kids and young people and young men who've died or had heart career-ending heart problems. Not once have I seen a mainstream article say, well, could it be the jab? Was he jabbed? Not even mentioned.
No, just 75 now, I think we're up to. And those are athletes that, have some notoriety.
Yeah, exactly.
What about all the other regular, normal athletes?
Yeah, we had a very famous footballer in Britain called Aguero.
Yeah.
Played for one of the big clubs here in Manchester City. And then he got transferred to Barcelona. I think it was in the summer. And his career is basically over.
I saw that.
He was playing a game the other day and had to stop, and he's got a heart defect. So but it's in the end, what is going on is all psychological, because all human behavior comes from a psychological state, and it's quite a staggering thing to observe that when all this evidence is flying around and is obvious to anybody, and mainstream journalists and presenters get up every morning, go to work, and lie until they come home. I mean, but they've got kids, they've got grandkids who are going to have to live in this world. And they are not standing up and saying, no, I'm not going to be part of this suppression of information. Because every single one of them, every single TV presenter, every celebrity who's come out and pushed this fake vaccine and abused anyone that is challenging it, is responsible for the death and health destruction of every single person they have persuaded to have the jab. Everyone.
Yep.
I mean, the people themselves are responsible by making the decision to have it, but these they're all responsible. And people like Fauci and Gates, and we've got a guy called Christopher Whitty, the chief medical officer of England in this country. I mean, they are guilty, quite blatantly guilty, of absolute mass murder.
Absolutely.
We had a guy who was health secretary through the first phase of all this, called Matt Hancock. And this takes us into Fauci in America as well. And their problem is this. Their problem from the start was this: they don't have a virus. They don't. And so they have to give the illusion that there is one. So they've done it by the test, the PCR test that's not testing the virus,
which is 90% inaccurate and being pulled off the market this month, December.
Well, it's actually 100% inaccurate in terms of infectious, what they call viruses, because we could talk about what viruses are as well. Because the inventor, Kerry Mullis, said he can't do that. And so the cases are coming from a test not testing for the virus. And then you have this thing called the lateral flow test, which is so useless that if you test positive with it, you have to have a PCR test to check that it's right. I mean, it is, honestly. And so, and then you have the 28 days and you die of anything else after a positive test, and there's your deaths. But they needed something, both sides of the Atlantic, to frighten people initially.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a virus to do it, so they had to do it some other way. And how they did it in Britain was with a drug called midazolam. Midazolam is an end-of-life sedative drug, which is used by some states in America in the execution process. And this guy, Matt Hancock, he was health secretary in the spring of 2020. He ordered years of supply of midazolam. Now, midazolam is used in the preparation for operations process as a sedative. But what they did in the spring of 2020, because COVID, everything, bloody COVID, they stopped doing operations except those that were absolute emergencies, right? So midazolam wasn't being used for that anymore, but they got years of supply. And this is not supposition. The documentation's there to prove it.
Yeah.
They suddenly use what they did first of all. They did this in America, of course. What they did first of all was say that this COVID pandemic is coming, so we've got to clear the hospital beds. Anyone that can be cleared out of the hospitals, and they moved them to the care homes. And loads of old people who were in hospital, not with COVID, but with obviously they're elderly and they're in hospital, so they're not in good shape. No. They were taken to these care homes. And at the same time, they put do not resuscitate orders on them, DNR orders, so that if they needed resuscitation, they didn't get it. And they did it just like the Nazis. It's all provable on kids with learning difficulties and people with learning difficulties. They said, oh, yeah, we've got to put DNR orders on them. Perfectly healthy. And then they started using this midazolam. And when you see the graph, you see it going along, month on month. Soon, use of midazolam prescriptions. And it was all of these in these care homes. And they were dying like flies in the care homes.
That's amazing, because obviously in New York, we saw this, they packed them all into care homes. And that was their solution, knowing, I mean, it didn't make sense. Oh, if it was about health, it certainly didn't make sense, right? Because you're putting positive people into these nursing homes. So it didn't make any sense. On top of that, recently I was listening to another doctor who said that care homes would have been the perfect place to administer treatment, because they need to be isolated. They're all in there, but they have access to IVs and all of such things. But of course, they didn't do any of that. So again, the obvious steps, if it were about health, were not taken.
Yeah, exactly. Well, none of it's taken. We've got a problem that the hospitals are being overwhelmed. What are you going to do about it? We're going to sack anyone who's not vaccinated. Yes. It's all about health, isn't it? But yeah, so what happened is these people were given doses of midazolam that would have killed a bloody horse.
Yeah,
and loads of them, and the great number of people in the so-called UK first wave were old people. They called it the first wave, but it wasn't the first wave of COVID. It was the first wave of midazolam. And then in America, you had Fauci saying that treatment for COVID, testing positive with a test, not testing for the virus, had to be done with a drug called remdesivir.
Yes.
And remdesivir is a death sentence. It stops multiple organs working, especially the kidneys.
Yep.
When the kidneys stop working, the abdominal cavity and the lungs fill up with water and you die. And this is what was happening. There's a doctor in America called Dr. Ardis who's done a lot of research on this.
Yes, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, he's excellent. And so they did that for the same reason they did midazolam in Britain and in other countries, because they didn't have a virus. But they needed the illusion of one. They needed a lot of dead people.
And I question the vent too, right? I mean, think about that. That would you can't talk when you're on a vent.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, you put them on a ventilator. I mean, this thing about the virus. I hear all this about it came from the Wuhan lab. I don't buy any of it, but I just look at what I can see. I look at the facts, and the facts are that if you have a real pathogen, you have a real infectious deadly agent. You don't have to test for it with a test not testing for it. Secondly, you don't have to scam the deaths with this ludicrous, insane. I mean, hello, 28-day from a test, you die of anything, gunshot wounds sometimes,
right.
Hit by a car, of COVID-19.
Yeah.
You don't have to use midazolam and remdesivir to give you your first waves. And you don't have to give hospitals incentives, financial incentives, which they have, to diagnose the same respiratory symptoms as COVID-19 and to give massive amounts of money, like $39,000 for every
per person
diagnosed patient on a ventilator, which will almost certainly kill them. You don't have to do that. If you have a real infectious agent, it just goes about its business and does it. But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this from my experience over 30 years, which kind of relates into all this. I've studied the psyche of these people that are behind all this, what I call the global cult, and the personality traits of them.
Yeah.
And while they may seem to be kind of arrogant and think they're omnipotent and all that, they're actually frightened little boys and girls. They are. They're terrified that the truth will come out because there's billions of humans and a fraction of them. And if the truth comes out and people start to see what's gone on and why and how and who's done it, but that's not difficult now, at least in the public arena, who's done it, then they are in serious trouble. So they're always terrified of being caught out.
Yeah.
So when you look at these people and their personality traits, they are terrified of losing control of anything. If you use a football game analogy, they wouldn't be happy with controlling one side, because that means the outcome is out of their hands. It's dependent on what the other side does. From a football analogy, for them to feel secure, they would have to control both sides and the referee. So they knew what the score was going to be before the game started. This is why you see them controlling both sides in debates and conflict. They want to control the outcome.
Yeah.
So the idea, you see, that they would release a infectious, quote, deadly pathogen, which they would immediately lose
total control of. Yeah.
It's absolutely not what they're going to do. They're not. Now, what was it really about? What was the fake virus really about? It was justifying the fake vaccination to massively depopulate and also transform the genetics of those that survive. Now, injection, not something passing around which you've lost control of.
Right.
An injection which you can control who has it and who doesn't. So the idea they would release a pathogen that they couldn't control. I mean, they might do it in a small area,
right?
In some circumstances, maybe, but globally, no way they'd do that. No chance.
It might get them.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so, but now I've been saying all along, the bioweapon is not the virus. The bioweapon is the fake vaccine. And they can administer that to who they like, because there are obviously a lot of these vials that contain absolutely horrendous stuff. But there's a lot of these vials that are just saline solutions.
Right. That's such a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because we're seeing that, right? We're seeing people who have adverse reactions right away. They get really sick. And then we're seeing people who are completely unaffected, which just adds to the psyop.
Yeah, because they want to get everybody that's not them eventually, or virtually. Well, yeah, everybody. I mean, it's what they're pushing for. But if they put the bad stuff in all the vials, when you see the scale of people going up, going down, now, if they put the bad stuff in all the vials right at the start, I mean, there's no way they were going to hide the effects of that.
Right.
But as they go through the so-called boosters, and they want them regularly, of course, that's the whole point. Then everybody is going to cop a bad one eventually, right?
Yes.
They keep having it, but they're spacing out the effects, or trying to. I do think there is something in what some people think is that the effects of these fake vaccines, the bad stuff, is actually worse than they thought it was going to be. Because they are now. It's only the media that is keeping this quiet.
Yeah.
You talk to people, and
everybody knows somebody now.
Yeah, exactly. That's just what I was going to say. Exactly that. So it's in your own eyes and your own experience. You can see a story, and then you see the media telling you a different story, and the politicians telling you a different story. But you can only keep that going for a certain amount of time, especially as more and more cop the bad stuff. Yeah. And of course, you see these celebrities and what have you, people who, if something, if they were promoting the fake vaccine and then they drop dead, and some of them have, of course, around the world. But if they were all doing it, then the PR disaster wouldn't be the word, would it?
Right. The rollout would stop immediately.
So they're getting the saline, aren't they? Anybody who, if they had a bad reaction, would be terrible PR. Well, they're getting the saline. Well, at least for now, then.
Yep. And that cognitive dissonance we talked about. I know people who have had a bad reaction. There was a guy that actually had to go take it, had anaphylaxis, and then went back to an allergist to get the second shot so it could be controlled. This is, I mean, it's just amazing how they're so under the spell.
It is a spell. Yeah. And you know, I've talked about this at length. I haven't written about it in my latest book, Perceptions of a Renegade Mind.
Yes.
You are looking at people, the fast asleep and the awakening, who are connected with different levels of consciousness. You know, I've written over the years about what I used to call it the mind virus. More recently, I came across the Native American concept of Wetiko, which they describe as a mind virus. And then when I've looked around the world in the different cultures, I find that although they use different names, they're actually describing the same thing.
Interesting.
It's akin to a computer virus, right? And it's connected to this whole cabal and what's behind it. So if you are working at a computer and you're interacting with the computer, well, all's fine and dandy. But when the computer gets a computer virus, then the operator loses control. It's symbolic of expanded levels of consciousness, loses control of the operating system, which what the body is, which directly connects us into this reality. So what happens is the virus takes over the operating system of the computer and it goes its own way. And you know, the person operating is tapping the keys or banging the mouse and nothing's happening. And this is what this Wetiko, as the Native Americans call it, does. It's like a computer virus. And it's funny, I've been writing about it all these years, and then I come across this Native American concept, which was just saying exactly the same.
Right.
So once this computer virus gets control of your mind, then you don't no longer have the capacity for rational thought. I mean, look what happens on the computer screen when a virus takes over. I mean, you know, it's mayhem. If it's an extreme example,
you have to force shut it down.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yep.
But the more closed-minded you are, the more sense of your own limitation you have, the slower your energetic field is vibrating, and it falls into this Wetiko frequency, which is a very distorted, inverted, chaotic frequency. But awakening people who have retained a connection between the computer and the operator, five sense mind and expanded awareness, they are able to free think and connect strands of information into a logical conclusion. And that's why you're seeing this extraordinary division in society now. And why the awakening are going, why can't they see it, right?
Yes.
Well, you tell a computer under the control of a computer virus, you ask the computer why it can't see it.
Yeah,
it can't see it because it's completely lost control of its operating system, and it's thought processes. And so you have this. It is like a cult. I mean, you know, I talk about the global cult.
Yeah,
but COVID is a cult.
I talk about that too.
It's like Jim Jones.
Yep, you got a uniform.
Yes, one of the things that I did in one of my books, I mean, it was the last one. I think it was the last one. It could have been the answer, the one before. I looked at the traits of cults.
Yes,
the traits of people in cults, and it's the same
thing. I know.
Following the COVID stuff, without question, it's a cult. We had a story. It's on my website today of a doctor. He was 45-year-old doctor who had had 2 jabs, right, and then just dropped dead, or died of what they said was COVID.
Right.
But he tested positive with the test not testing for the virus. But his brothers come out and attacked people that won't get vaccinated.
Oh,
Hold on a second. Your brothers just died, you think, of COVID after 2 jabs. And you want the people who haven't, and are still alive, by the way, to do what your brother did. What? And then this guy said, oh, and he was only a few days from getting his 3rd shot, right?
oh, like that would have helped.
Yeah, exactly. So this is it. Okay, so what you need two jabs, right? Yeah, okay. And that will solve it. Yeah, back to normal. Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, you go ahead. Oh yeah, I've got it. Okay. Actually, it's not working.
Yeah.
But so what you need now is a booster. Okay, so what's in the booster? Well, the same as what's in the first two. It didn't bloody work, right?
Which is no remnant of a virus because they've never even isolated it. So what are they boosting?
Yeah. It's just extraordinary. But you see, it's interesting. You know, over the years, I've used this term "spell" for what's gone on. I remember in one book there was a series of chapters casting the spell, breaking the spell, and it's a spell.
It is.
But never was it more obvious than in the COVID era. Now that because you're under a spell, you're under like a hypnotist stage show.
Yes.
And you are told that the audience is naked. You're told that you're playing a trombone.
Yep.
No.
And everyone's seen those shows. So why is it so unbelievable?
And you're playing the trombone, right? Right? You're not, but you think you are, right?
Yeah. I just had a really interesting thought when you said that, because I wanted to talk about the metaverse a little bit, but it's almost like this has been priming because this is this fake world they're trying to pull us into. And this is almost like priming for it to accept what's not real as being real.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, I've talked since the turn of the millennium about
you have
simulation and the limits of the simulation at the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got scientific articles coming out in 2021 saying exactly the same, and more scientists saying actually, it would explain everything if we were in a simulation. I mean, why would the physics of our reality be the same as computer games, virtual reality games? Because it is. So that's one level. See, this is the thing.
There are so many levels, and I want to get into synthetic biology with you and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So the stage one of disconnecting us from true self, or the perception of our true self, is the overall simulation. But what they're doing now is creating simulations within the simulation. For instance, if you look at this smart grid, which people like Elon Musk are at the forefront of creating with their low orbit satellites they're putting up now by the enormous numbers they're planning, that is creating what I used to call it in the books the technological sub-reality. They call it the smart grid now, or the cloud. Now, this cloud, where this radiation frequency, 5G, they're talking about 6G and 7G already, it is broadcast from towers and it's broadcast from low orbit satellites to every inch of the planet. That's the plan. That in itself is a simulation within the simulation. So there's one step down straight away from even the overall simulation. Then you've got virtual reality.
Yeah.
Then you've got augmented reality. Now you've got the metaverse, which is being pushed by this guy Zuckerberg, who's a little boy in short trousers and terrified of his masters. But he's pushing this metaverse, and the metaverse is another layer of illusory reality. And with
I think it's the carrot. I think the metaverse is the carrot. I just saw an ad where they're offering people to connect with someone who's passed away in the metaverse. So yes, so this is a carrot. So you can experience the past in virtual reality, and this will be the carrot to get people in.
And what they're doing, of course, is completely mesmerizing the human mind, so it doesn't know who it is, where it is, or anything. And that's the whole thing. It's almost the ultimate mind scramble. And every time you go down one of these simulation levels, you're getting further and further away from an influence of prime reality beyond the simulation, which is the true self. And it's all systematic, of course. So the whole thing with the smartphones and everything around that is all part of this. It's, they talk about the addiction to smartphones.
Yeah.
And of course that exists. But I reckon that I've been saying this for a long while now, that there's frequencies coming off those phones that are part of the addiction. It's almost like if you can, you addict the brain. You addict the brain by giving it a stimulus that it basically goes into frequency cold turkey if the stimulus stops. So you've got the brain being given this stimuli from the smartphone. Now, what we see is someone on the phone, and they're doing this and doing this, scrolling down, and then eventually, it may take a long time, they'll put it down. I've watched people do this, and then they look around a bit, and then they'll pick it up again, and they're off.
Yeah,
it's like the brain is saying, "Where's my fix?" Because there's frequencies coming off that are stimulating part of the brain, and it creates this addiction. Because in the end, everything in this reality is a frequency. So whether it's cocaine or any other kind of drug, in its base form, it will be a frequency. It will be a frequency information field. Everything is. And so even cocaine has a frequency component in its effect on the brain. Everything does. Yeah. And all this smartphone stimulation is basically the stimulation of the brain without the illusion of a drug. But all drugs are frequencies. In their base form. And they interact with the body and the brain on the frequency level, and they interact with it on the chemical level. But,
it's interesting because Eric Schmidt, he used to be the CEO of Google. I've been kind of diving into some of his stuff right now. He's something else, that's for sure. He even admits, like in typical abuser fashion, he identifies the problem that we could have with virtual reality, right? So why would we want to live in a world where we don't like how we look, we don't like who we are, going back to the lack of self-respect, when we could live in a world where we like what we look like and we have all the things we want. So he even identifies what could be the problem and acts worried, oh, this could be a real problem.
Yeah, well, what you find when you research this over the years is that they cover all bases. I go back to the football match. They cover all bases. You've got to be very careful because they'll put people in certain positions who are saying what you agree with. Absolutely, that's the case. That's a good point. But what they're doing is they're controlling the debate.
Yes.
Again, if you take the football analogy, they're controlling both sides, and the referee, the governments that ultimately decide, or the corporations that ultimately decide what's going to happen. They're the referees, if you like.
Yeah.
And they control the debate, so they know what the outcome's going to be.
Absolutely. In your book, Renegade of Perception, there's a chapter in there about the political puppet show. We still have these people who think that the politician's going to save us.
Yeah, I've been called a controlled opposition in some parts
Yep.
because I will not go down the Trump road. I never have. You know, what's really important in my view is that people hold this dispassionate position where they look at the evidence and they look at the facts and they don't get pulled into personalities and they don't get pulled into people telling them what they want to hear. Because I know after, 30 odd years of telling people what they don't want to hear, how difficult that can be. It's much easier to tell people what they do want to hear because the doors are already swinging open for you because they want what you're saying to be true.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're saying something they don't want to hear, of course, they don't want it to be true and they're much more resistant. But, you've got to speak your truth. So what happened in parts of the alternative media when Trump came along is that they forgot what they'd been saying before. What they were saying before is you are looking at a one-party state, and it doesn't matter which side gets in, the secret government gets in, right? So,
right.
So okay, I agree with that. So why is Trump an exception? Well, because he's a maverick. Well, if you look at the history of Donald Trump and his connections, he's no maverick, right? He's no maverick. He's no anti-system person, right? And then you saw the WikiLeaks documents and emails that were released that showed that the Democratic Party were manipulating the primary race against Trump to stop Bernie Sanders getting the nomination that Hillary Clinton did. Okay, yeah, no one's surprised there. But Trump started out facing something like 16 plus other candidates. And if the Democrats could fix the election, then so could the Republicans. And we were asked to believe that Trump was a maverick, even within the Republican Party, and the Republican Party didn't want him because he was not controllable. Well, okay then. So how did he get the nomination then? Because you could have fixed it. Right. And people like Trump don't just have skeletons in the cupboard; they have whole cemeteries. So they could have exposed him. The media could have exposed him for many different ways in the run up to the election. But he got the nomination, and once he got the Republican nomination, I thought this guy's the chosen one. This guy's going to get it, and of course he did. And so, in my view, what Trump is there for is to lead his supporters to glorious failure. I think that's what he's there for. And so you had him in for 4 years. Yes, they put pressure on him with the nonsensical Russia Gate nonsense,
right? And some silly little stripper stuff, and
but that was to basically create a situation in which he couldn't do what he said he was going to do, and had an excuse why he didn't do it, right? So, I'm gonna shut up the southern border. Well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But they made sure that wasn't going to happen, and then he could say, "Well, I tried." But so if you look at his whole presidency, I mean, there was the only things that he did or didn't do were things that, if he hadn't have done them or not done them, like invading another country, he almost did an invasion from the air anyway, an attack on Iran, and turned the planes down when they were heading there. Because I think it was pointed out. I saw the Tucker Carlson show that night when it was happening, and I remember Tucker Carlson pointing out that if you do this, Trump, then you're going to destroy yourself with your natural support, because they supported you because you said you weren't going to do this,
right.
and the planes would turn around and all that. So there was some pressure on him in the sense of you can't do this because you'll lose all your natural support, and they'll turn on you. But he went through 4 years, and he basically didn't do anything to really change things. But he talked a good story. And then he was beaten by Biden, and Biden blatant puppet you'll ever see in your life. I mean, they're all puppets to an extent, but he is 100% a puppet.
He doesn't even know where to walk or stand. It's
so this is what I've talked about in terms of Trump. There was a guy called Saul Alinsky. He was a communist operating out of Chicago. And apparently some of his followers and readers of his books were Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi. And he wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. And it was a series of rules to follow to transform a democratic society, basically, into a communist one. And one of the rules I really hit me like a train when I read it was, don't target faceless bureaucracies and corporations, in effect. Pick one person and blame them for everything.
Wow.
And so I'm watching this Trump thing unfold. And as I said when he was coming in, the idea here is to absolutely polarize America, to absolutely split it down the middle.
Well, the campaign was like none other, right? The hate campaign was like none other we've ever seen.
Yeah. So what you had was America split. You had the woke mentality, blaming Trump for everything.
Yep.
And this thing, Trump derangement syndrome, was actually a real psychological disease. I know people in America who caught it.
Yes.
It was like, again.
I know a lot of Canadians that caught it.
It was like the COVID cult.
Yeah.
They lost.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just all that. Yep.
So they're saying, "Oh, Trump's a fascist," while supporting Biden coming in with a regime that's absolutely fascist. I mean, but they can't see it. Oh no, Biden's a good guy. He's against Trump.
Yeah.
So what happened is you had this absolute onslaught on Trump and this focus of attention on Trump, and then you had the Trump supporters who were supporting Trump, and this polarization of America happened massively in
yes.
4 years.
Oh, it hurt everybody's family. I almost don't know anybody whose family wasn't affected by that.
And then, of course, you have families divided in the same way over COVID.
Yes.
And it's all about division. It's all about driving people apart. So
it's patterns. It's the same pattern being implemented in each different area of your life.
Exactly. And all this social distancing and isolation and lockdown, it's all together. You've got to see it as a package of driving people apart. So when it came to the last election, because the Trump years had created this division, this polarization. But if he'd have gone on for another 4 years, yes, the polarization would have got greater, but the pressure from his support base would have meant that he was very limited in how far he could go with the cult agenda. So they needed to take this woke mentality that had been massively militarized, if you like, by the Trump period, and they had to put it in office. Because when Biden was coming in, I said the cult agenda is absolutely going to go through the roof now. And I was talking about they're going to open the southern border.
Done.
They're going to go for all these things that they want. They're going to try to get weapons, get guns from people, and etc. And I haven't got a gun. I never pull a gun out. I've never pulled a trigger except at a fairground to win a coconut, or not win a coconut in my case. What we have to say is, why is it that before dictators tend to make their play for total control, they disarm the population? It's a constant repeating theme.
Yeah.
If I lived out somewhere in America, miles and miles from any police force or anything, then I'd probably want a gun.
Yeah.
Because you've got no chance otherwise.
Right.
If you're gonna go and rob someone and you think they might have a gun, well, you might think twice about it. But if you know they haven't, then all hell breaks loose. This is just the way it works.
This is my theory of why America isn't more locked down like places like Australia and Austria, is because of that very reason.
Well, look what they did in Australia a few years ago. They took the guns away.
Yes.
And one of the things that people might choose to grasp is how long current events have been planned and prepared for.
Good point. Because that was years ago.
And I mean right down to the personnel. This guy Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah, he's if it walks like a Nazi and talks like a Nazi, it's
right.
But anyway, he ran these organizations, and they going back to the 1990s, and they were called. One of them was called the Young Leaders Program or something like that. And what they were doing was pulling people in, chosen people, and they were bringing them forward to be leaders, right? There's a company that started out of Britain and is now worldwide called Common Purpose, which has done something similar. But when you see the people who have been in this program,
oh, really?
it's extraordinary. Okay, so in the 90s, you had Angela Merkel, became longtime leader of Germany. There was Tony Blair. There was Bill Gates. There was Jeff Bezos. There was later there was Gavin Newsom, governor of California. There's Jacinda Ardern, who's now the fascist leader of New Zealand.
She's something else. That one is
former aide to Tony Blair, who Tony Blair, when his lips move, the cult is speaking. So you even the personnel at this time has been carefully selected. Yeah. And this is why it's so comfortable with fascism, and doesn't just see the extremes of what it's involved in, because these organizations, they're all to do with mind control.
Yes.
The common purpose is an organization that started out in Britain in the 1980s and moved very fast through help from Tony Blair. It's now operating worldwide, and what it does and has been doing for a very long time is putting on training courses for people in government, national government, local government, fire officers, police officers, etc. And they go through these training courses, and they're subject to neuro-linguistic programming and various other groupthink techniques,
right,
to batter out any individuality in them. And I've written about these the common purpose quite a lot over the years, and you see family members coming out and saying that since their loved one, their partner, whatever, went through the common purpose training program, they're different people. They're not the same person they were before. And
almost like a cult.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly a cult. They call them graduates, common purpose graduates. We've got a lady in London who's head of the Metropolitan Police, the biggest police force in Britain, called Cressida Dick. and I think she was named by a psychic personally, but she's absolutely useless, right? But she's a common purpose.
I was going to say, but I was being well behaved.
She's a common purpose graduate, and just to give you an idea, if you're a common purpose graduate, and it's the same with this SWAB leadership program and all that, then your behavior doesn't matter as long as you are willing to do what you're told to do. Then you'll survive and you'll prosper. You'll get the job. So I don't know if you remember, quite a few years ago now, there was a Brazilian electrician in London called Charles de Menezes. And he was shot dead. Shot dead. He was shot 7 times in the head by a police officer while being held down by other police officers. And he'd been mistaken for a terrorist when he's just a regular bloody electrician going about his day. He ran because he thought he was being chased by these people who were tracking him wrongly. And they then held him down and shot him 7 times in the head. You know, one wasn't enough. Anyway, the person who oversaw that whole operation was Cressida Dick. Now, if you'd done that, and then it turns out this perfectly innocent bloke, I mean, you'd be down the road, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Not if you're a common purpose graduate. So she then gets, as did the guy who shot the gun, they get promoted until she's head of the Metropolitan Police. Absolute incompetent, but she's an incompetent that does what she's told. So we have this guy in London at the Imperial College called Professor Neil Ferguson.
Yes,
who's a modeler of a so-called a health modeler.
Yes,
and the man is completely and utterly useless. His record is extraordinarily bad, and you know, I mean, you look at him and you think, how could you have a conversation with this bloke? I mean, there's no life. But he keeps giving the cult the models that suit their agenda.
Yes.
He keeps getting employed. So he was the one that came out with the projection of 2.2 million deaths in America in the spring of 2020, and that locked down America.
Yeah.
And 500,000 or so in Britain, that locked down Britain, and other countries the same. And totally incompetent, but doesn't matter. He's an incompetent that gives the cult what he wants to hear.
That's some great insight into some of these agencies that we put so much trust into that are following the exact same pattern, right? The WHO, the FDA. If you start looking behind the scenes of who funnels all their money into these agencies, I just found out yesterday, like Unitaid, that's a Clinton Foundation entity.
Yeah,
it's an arm of the WHO.
Yeah, the maze is amazing.
Yes.
And
they're almost not involved. They're involved in everything.
Yeah, this is when the penny drops. This is why it's so important to understand the global structure through which this operates. It's like a spider's web, and each of the strands in the web is a secret society, a semi-secret group, or something like the World Health Organization, Facebook. They're all strands in the web. And if you go deep enough in those organizations, you are going to find web operatives who are running those organizations on behalf of the cult agenda.
Yep.
So the World Health Organization was created by the Rockefellers in 1948. Rockefeller's massive cult operatives at quite a deep level. And the idea was to control global health by putting control under one roof, the World Health Organization, that would dictate to all the member countries, pretty much the whole world now, on how to deal with these things. And once you see the web connections to all these apparently random and unconnected organizations of people, the things that happen that seem inexplicable become perfectly explainable.
Right.
Because why would Facebook and these other platforms like YouTube, announced early on that they were going to censor anyone that questioned or challenged the World Health Organization narrative on COVID. Why would they do that? It's ridiculous.
Are they health practitioners?
Yeah, exactly. Why would they do that? I mean, they're communication operations. Why would they do that? Surely they'd want lively debate, wouldn't they? Isn't that what they were there for? They
Right.
But then you realize, or if you've done the research before, that the World Health Organization is controlled by the cult. It was created by the Rockefellers. It's now run, not least through funding, by Bill Gates, who is a close associate of the Rockefellers. In fact, I've seen some genealogy that claims that if you go back far enough, the Rockefeller bloodline and the Gates bloodline fuse.
Oh, that's interesting.
And Facebook is not only controlled by this cult, it was created by it. So was Google, seed funded by people like the DARPA, the technological development arm of the Pentagon, and InQtel, the technological seed funding arm of the CIA.
And American tax dollars.
Yeah, and these people like Zuckerberg, I mean, you wouldn't need any encouragement to believe that when you see him, at work. He's just a front man. I mean, you've got a pothead.
He's a child.
Yeah, a child. Yeah, I mean, arrested development, that kid, honestly.
Yeah.
And then you've got Dorsey at Twitter, the pothead. The idea he's running Twitter and Zuckerberg's running Facebook and Brin and Page and etc. running Google, and Susan Wojcicki is running YouTube is ridiculous. They're just gophers.
Yeah.
And so what you got is one arm of the cult, the Silicon Valley platforms, defending the narrative of the cult being put out by the World Health Organization. And so when you realize again, the Rockefellers through J.D. Rockefeller, they created Big Pharma.
Yes, they did.
Big Pharma.
Petrochemicals.
Yeah. So you've got the big pharma people like Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. And they're going to, as you mentioned earlier, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, asking for permission, as they are in Britain with the something called the MHRA, the so-called drug regulator in Britain.
Right.
And they're asking for permission to use these fake vaccines on different age groups. But what's happening is the CDC and the FDA and the MHRA are assets of the cult. So they are being asked permission for other assets of the cult, like Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, for permission to use these fake jabs. And they're going to get it.
Yeah. Oh, shockingly.
Why wouldn't you? And this explains why permission is given against all the evidence.
Yep.
Against all rational thought and scientific evidence. It's given. It's given because one arm of the cult is giving it to another arm of the cult. We've got a guy in Britain that I mentioned him earlier, the chief medical officer of England, called Chris Whitty. And only once in this whole COVID era has the vaccine advisory committee to the UK government pushed back on anything. And they pushed back on giving these fake vaccines to 12 to 15-year-olds that were healthy. Now that was a problem because the cult agenda is they get it.
Yeah.
Instead of accepting that, the UK government said, "Well, we're going to give the final decision to Chris Whitty."
Oh yeah.
Other chief medical officers of Scotland, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, but Whitty was the one doing it. And so.
They did that with the CDC here too. So they had a panel, only 2 of them voted for it. There was 16 voted against it. Well, they just took the decision away from that panel and they gave it to the director.
Exactly. And this is because there is an agenda that unless we make it happen, is not going to be denied. So he came out with this extraordinary excuse. He said, well, they should get it because it will be better for their education because they close. And you look at him and you think, you bloody psychopath. You know that some of these kids are going to die. You know that even more of these kids are going to have life-changing health consequences for what you're doing.
Yep.
But you don't bloody care. That's what I mean. what's a psychopath? They have no empathy, they have no compassion. That's why they're psychopaths.
Well, and they're living within that realm of being constantly, congratulated in like young leaders program. They get accolades, right? And it's very interesting because people that I know who did really well in school, and got a lot of accolades in school, are having a really hard time grasping that this might not be on the up and up.
Yeah, well, this is, I like I say, I've done a lot of research into common purpose, and common purpose is just the blueprint or a blueprint for all these different organizations.
Right. Religion is another one, right? They can use the LDS church. They use churches, these groups to.
Where are the bloody religions in all this in the last 2 years? Anyway, So what happens in these common purpose courses is these people who are put through the training program, they're told that they're special. Mm-hmm. They're told that they basically have the right to dictate what happens in the world because they're intelligent and they have the intelligence to do it.
Right.
They build up.
Yeah.
And so they've been developing this mentality, and as we came into the COVID era, that all these people were in place through the system to play it out as it has. Because if you had people in the health services too, which has been completely taken over by psychopaths and morons.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to dramatically. Well, I did a long time ago. I've met a lot of doctors. I wouldn't let diagnose an ingrown toenail.
Yeah, same.
But I mean, you don't have to be bright to be a doctor. There are some bright doctors, but you don't have to be bright to be a doctor and qualify. You really don't. You just have to do what you're told. Anyway, so the health services have been taken over. The National Health Service in Britain, especially at management level, but at other levels too, completely taken over by these psychopaths and morons. The morons part of it are those that just do what they're told without question.
Yeah.
But if you had balanced people, then you would have pushback all over the place. You'd say, well, hold on, this makes no sense.
That's right.
But what's happened is that mentality that judges things on their merits and not from an ideological or reflex action response. They're the ones that they've been spending years, decades getting rid of. They don't want those people. And what we're seeing now, of course, with the people that won't have the jab, is that there's nothing that I can think of that more symbolizes where you are perceptually than whether you have the jab or not.
Yeah.
What not having it says is I've got a mind of my own, and I have got the strength of character to go with the mind of my own and not submit to you. Now that is the worst nightmare of the cult. They are the people they're terrified of. So what they're doing is using this. Part of it is to try to get those people jabbed, but another part of it is if they won't submit, we've got to get rid of them. So the reason that because they don't care about the chaos that ensues from all these fired people who won't have the jab in health and military and police, they couldn't care less. They want the chaos. What they are doing is targeting them. So they'll say in the American military, if you don't get jabbed, you're out.
Yeah.
What they're really doing is they're firing all those people they know by that decision have a mind of their own and a willingness to stand for what they believe in.
They also probably won't commit crimes against humanity.
Yes, they want psychopaths and morons. This is the combination. The world is ruled by psychopaths and it's administered by morons. That's the
dynamic
they've put in these positions of authority and power. And another part of the moron thing is it brings us down to the self-respect, because they want you to see that these people are morons. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen some of the chief medical officers in the States of Australia.
Pictures of health, aren't they?
Yeah. Kerry Chant, New South Wales. There's not a brain cell on active duty between her ears. There really isn't. But she's chief medical officer, and she's a moron.
Yeah.
And what they then do is they put morons in positions of power. They want you to see they're morons. And they want you to see that what they're telling you to do is moronic and has absolutely no basis in science or logic. They want you to see that, not hiding it. Because if they can make you see it, let you see it, and you still do it, then they've got your self-respect. They've got you.
Yeah.
And once self-respect's gone, only submission remains. So it's all a psychological game. And so what they're trying to do, they've achieved it with the wokers, is to get the population to accept that 2 and 2 equals 5. And we have talked about this 2 and 2 equals 5 mentality. I mean, it's everywhere in the COVID era.
Yep.
It makes absolutely no sense.
Yep.
None whatsoever.
None of it.
The process that I've kind of observed is, and this is why anyone that wants to stay sovereign and individual in that sense, they need to not compromise one smear.
Yes.
2 and 2 equals 4. Just don't do it. I mean, because it's a slippery slope. Because what I've observed is that some people, maybe many people, will go along with 2 and 2 equals 5, knowing it equals 4, but they'll go along with it.
Yes.
For a quiet life or whatever.
Yep. They don't want the argument.
But they then have a self-respect problem because they know it equals 4, but they are even talking as if it equals 5. And so and it's all kind of subtle psychology to hide your self-respect from yourself, or to retain your self-respect in your own mind. You then start believing that 2 and 2 equals 5. Because if you believe it, then you've not conceded your self-respect by doing it, even though you don't believe it. So you take it on board, you believe it. And this is the psychological process that takes you from 2 and 2 equals 4 to, I know it does, but I'm just going along with it, to it equals 5. And they got you then. So
that's such a good way to explain it, because I've seen it unfold. I've seen it unfold with people who I thought, why are you doing that? You know, but it's not about anything else but really self-respect. And that's why we have to focus on, is helping people regain their self-respect, which is in such a sad state.
The greatest word to defend self-respect is no. Do this, no, I won't do it. No, we'll do this. If you don't do it, well, do it then, because I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. If enough people go down that road, no, not doing it, it's unenforceable. It's all unenforceable. It's too many people. Yeah.
It's the fear of death that keeps people compliant, right? Like you've spoken about this topic so many times, and you're so good at describing it. And the way you say, like, I don't care. It's my consciousness. If you want to kill me, because I'll just take off somewhere else.
Yeah, because I'm not going to concede my self-respect.
Well, what's the point of living if in that, right? Yeah.
I'm not going to concede my self-respect to stay on this, stay in this reality for a few years longer. I'm not going to do it.
Me either.
This fear of death is crucial because it's an extreme version of the fear of the unknown, which is one of the greatest human fears of all. So much power is given away by fear of death. All the power of the medical profession, the psychopathic doctors, comes from fear of death. Just save me, doctor. Just give me a few more years to live, doctor. Once you realize that this is a very, very brief, even if you live a long life. I mean, I'm 69, right? And it's flown. I mean, it's like yesterday I was at school, right?
Yes.
So it's very fast. There is no time, but the perception of it is very fast. It's just a brief experience. And I am the consciousness that's having that experience. David Icke is the vehicle and the personality to name through that experience. But then I'm out of here and I'm off somewhere else. And so that's going to happen eventually anyway.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, someone stay here forever.
Even if they do capture you in the metaverse.
Yeah,
that ain't you. That ain't going to be you in there.
No, it's not. No, it's, there's so much going on about this. What we're seeing with this metaverse is things coming into this dimension that's going on in other dimensions. Because this simulation doesn't just have the level we're aware of. There are other levels of it.
Right.
Anyway, and I think that's what reincarnation is about. Actually, reincarnation between levels of the simulation.
Yeah, interesting.
Because when I mean, we're jumping around, but
I know, I can't help it. Sorry, it's so interesting. You get these kids that come back and they know how to play guitars and they know how to, what's that about?
Yeah, I mean, when I first came across that whole concept of reincarnation, it never made sense to me. Now, I'm not saying that you can't come out of prime reality into this reality, and for instance, trying to make a difference. And you might go out and you might come in again and try to make a difference. I've no problem with that. Okay. What I've had a problem with is this: you must be on this cycle. You must be on this wheel, right? Because if you look at the size of planet Earth against the projected size of the universe, then it's the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, so I've got to keep reincarnating onto this planet to learn lessons.
This is the only thing, yeah,
to get out of here. On the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead. Sorry, mate, I don't follow that.
Right.
But then
it's our concept of time and space that constantly keeps us in those confines.
Yeah, but you look at it this way: that there are other levels of this simulation. Not just this one. And that this force that's behind it, which is not human, is trying to capture consciousness into a cycle of reincarnation. In other words, keep them entrapped. Then suddenly reincarnation makes sense because you're coming out of the body and you're not of a high enough vibrational frequency to get out of the trap, and so you are recycled back in what we call reincarnation, and if you are
can you vibrate higher within that and break out of that?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're in a high enough vibration, you leave the body and you're out of here. But I mean, there's an ancient esoteric concept called the ring pass not, which is like a bubble that you can't get out of if you're not, quote, enlightened, in other words, of a high enough frequency. And I've got books here, a couple of books, thick books, of the writings of the Gnostics that were found at in an earthen jar at Nag Hammadi in Egypt in 1945, where fascinating stuff. They were it's estimated they were probably put in that earthen jar about 400 AD, something like that. And about a fifth of these writings are about a non-human manipulative force they call the archons, which is Greek for rulers.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and what they talk about in these writings is that this is a fake reality. When I'm reading it, I'm thinking, in your language, you're describing a simulation, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing they said was that to get out of the fake reality, you had to be basically what I would say a high enough vibration to get through. And it said the outer kind of what I've just called ring pass not is the planet Saturn. And the rings of Saturn, I've written about Saturn at great length, quite a few books ago now. the rings of Saturn are sending out a vibration. I think that's part of this. That's part of the simulation limit that's being broadcast. And so it's from many different angles, the same basic information comes around, and I do think that reincarnation is the recycling of. And the other thing is that once you leave the body, if you don't leave the simulation, you might believe the simulation is heaven. You might believe that if you haven't got any other.
Oh, that's interesting.
You haven't got any other radar that
yeah, that's interesting, because then we see the people who have died and come back and have stories, right, of the simulation they've experienced.
Yeah, but you see, some people who have near-death experiences, they get out there, but a lot of them don't. But the interesting thing for me, and in fact, I'm just writing a book now. I'm going to include some of this. Is that, you know, I've watched a lot of psychics in action, and mediums, and because part of my research, I'm thinking, what are they actually getting? So there was one. He's died now, but he had a program on one of the minor channels every night at 8 o'clock for about a year or so, and I would turn on at 8 o'clock and I'd watch it. And what he'd do, he'd have an audience, and it was like, I've got a Mary. Anyone know a Mary?
Yeah.
And then the second half would be like that. But in the middle, he would do an on-film one-to-one with someone. So I'm watching this, and I've done it many times all over the world. And he's obviously getting something, because he's saying so-and-so. And I said, oh my God, that's exactly what happened, says someone in the audience. But my question was this: why do none of these people, I mean, those that get right out there, they do, but generally, why do none of these people who come through say, it's all an illusion, you're all being manipulated? Why don't they say that? They never do. They say things like, oh, thanks for looking after the cat.
Right.
And, oh, I'm glad you got that new job. Right? But hey, you're being manipulated. It's all a scam. It's all why do they never say that? Those that get right out, they do. But the rest of them don't.
Right.
Then I saw one of these filmed one-to-ones, and it was with a Muslim lad. And he's getting, and he was saying, oh, this is your father, and oh yeah, that's right, yeah. And he said, oh, your father's saying he's glad that you're keeping up with your Muslim religion. And I'm going, what? You don't know, it's a load of crap. What are you talking about? And I don't mean Muslim religion, I mean all religion. It's all a straitjacket for the mind and a limiter of perception. You believe this or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean?
That's the message.
Where are you? Telling you this kid this stuff.
Yeah. So, I went to see a psychic one time in a auditorium just to watch her. And I was fascinated because my theory is that those people are really good at patterns. They're really good at predicting patterns within human behavior. And so that's how they're able to kind of, I do think that sometimes people connect to other consciousness for sure. But like you said, I don't understand why they're telling you about, look under the teapot. That's where the ring is.
If you were still in the simulation, would you know it was a scam?
Bingo.
Or would you think this is how it's meant to be, reincarnation and stuff?
Well, that's the same thing with our language. You mentioned, they're using the language of the time, but our perception is so controlled by our language. It's the only thing we have to try to fit things together, to explain them. What if there was something else that we had to communicate? That would change the dynamic of of our perception.
Yeah, of course it would. But I do think that there are psychics, mediums that get right out there, and
yeah.
they're the ones that give you stuff that is about what's going on.
Yeah.
Then you've got others. I think are tapping into something in still within the simulation, but not this level of it. And then I think you're right. There are some that make it up. I mean, you even if you're any good at it, you're not necessarily good at it every time.
Right. That's true.
I watched a medium. The only time I've been to the spiritualist church, which is around the corner from me here, the only time I ever went there, because I knew this guy, and he had an absolute bloody nightmare. Anybody got a so-and-so? Silence. Getting so-and-so? Silence.
I think they call that bombing in comedy.
Mate, quit while you're ahead, Or no, actually.
Yeah, it's like with anything. And I think we can get sucked into that too, is thinking that things are so black and white. It's either real or it's fake. Well, that's not really how it works. There's more of a gray area of things. And there's, just like people. We tend to put people up on pedestals like they're absolutely perfect. And then we're pissed off when they foul up.
Yeah. So I say to people, take the information, make of it what you will. Don't personalize it, and because I see this with people where, someone will do a lot of good things, and they do one thing that people don't like, and suddenly, he's gone. What about
and like none of their work mattered.
Yeah.
What the?
I know, it's crazy, but that's what happens when you personalize things. And I've also said over the years, don't do anything to help people. Do it because you believe it's right. Because if you do something which actually does help people in the work, what you do, but you're doing it because you believe it's right.
Yes.
Then when they turn on you, because they
will, and they have. Yeah.
It's like, all I've done for you, and you do this to me. Well, you don't get that when it's, I did it because I believed it was right. And because of that, even though you're having a go at me and you've turned against me, that really doesn't affect me, because I'm always doing it for you. I was doing it because I believed it was right. So it's a slightly different, subtle switch on it. And because
you protect yourself that way too. You don't get as hurt.
Yeah, because people do. It's extraordinary how they do turn on you when you've done an enormous amount of things from which they've benefited, and suddenly they turn on you. But again, this is the way it is. You just have to deal with it in the moment. Life's a roller coaster.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's not getting attached to things that don't matter. I have this thing I call the deathbed revelation, where you're on your deathbed and you've got 10 minutes to live, and someone says to you, looking back on your life, what really matters, right? What really mattered, right? And it wasn't, what that woman did to me in 1965. Oh, it was disgusting. None of that. It's, whether you were loved, how much you loved, and how much joy you had, all these things. The things that just emotionally kind of create emotional upheaval. I look back at my life, and I see things that wound me up years ago.
Yeah.
And you look back at them and you think, well, does it matter now? No, it doesn't. And this is this deathbed revelation. So does all these things that wound you up, do they matter now as you're facing leaving this world? Well, no, none of them matter. Oh, well, I've got some good news for you. You're not going to die, but just take that attitude. They don't matter, these things, and take it on the rest of your life, and your life will be very different. Instead of all this kind of anger and conflict and victimhood and I do that to me and all this stuff. None of it matters.
Yeah,
it's just a brief experience, and what it's done to me is calmed everything down. Because when you first come across this information like 30 years ago, you just want to run around and shout at everybody, don't you? What I tend to do is, no, it's just calm, because you know that not only can't you get people to see it who don't want to see it, you shouldn't be trying to force them to see it. It's their decision. All you can do is
it's their journey. Yeah, it's their consciousness on this planet at this time.
You put information in front of people, and then they make of it what they will. If we get attached, and I've had lots of experience of this. If you get attached to how people receive the information, then you're just going to get drained emotionally.
Yeah.
What you can say is, and this is important now, because there's a lot of people that are suffering the effects of these fake vaccines, either in fatalities or life-changing situations.
Yep.
And a lot of people that can see it, they're concerned about their family, understandably, and they're concerned about people who've had the jab, what's going to happen to them and all that stuff. But in the end, that's just going to drain you.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is do everything you can to put information in front of people so they do make some kind of informed choice before they go ahead. And once they've made that choice, well, your attachment to that choice is going to drain you. And there's now nothing you can do about it anyway. So it's I think it's important that we do protect ourselves emotionally in that way, because it's very. You
have no idea how much I needed to hear that.
It's very easy to get pulled in, and this is the thing about facing situations that other people are in. My way of looking at it is there anything I can do? And if there's something I can do, then I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's nothing you can do because the person is not interested, then you've got to take a step back emotionally. Otherwise, you get frazzled with frustration and worry. And again, coming from this greater picture, it's just a choice within an infinite journey anyway.
That's right.
And what
perspective, that perspective is so, because we need to enjoy this journey we're on right now.
Yes. And
even though it seems, chaotic but we still have to find joy. Otherwise we're wasting our journey.
Yeah. Not only that, but of course, joy and love and laughter, they're high frequency states.
Yeah.
Which lifts you out of the influence of Wetiko, the mind virus.
Right.
It can't.
You're fighting by default.
Yeah, it can't influence you when you're in a high frequency state, because it can't make an attachment to you. It can't exchange information with you on an energetic level, because you're not in its frequency. And that's why they've structured this world not to produce joy and love increasingly, but to produce fear and anxiety and conflict, because they want to pull people into these low frequency states, because then that attachment can happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Because even at these protests now, I'm watching them. The cops and stuff are trying to make it more on a low vibration by pushing people and interfering, because some of these protests are the biggest expressions of love and power, right? We're looking at each other's eyes, knowing that we know what's going on and we're connecting. Yeah. And there's love there, just based on we love humans and we want to support each other. So now I'm seeing that the protests and stuff are being infiltrated. They're bringing their dark cloud on them because they're too powerful.
Yeah, and they want conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want, because Wetiko operates again by working through both sides.
Right.
And it sets up electrical circuits everywhere which empower it. So if you are being violent towards a protest, and the protest is being violent towards you, well, there's two expressions of Wetiko, and that creates an electrical circuit which empowers Wetiko. When one side won't return the energy,
Mm-hmm.
then it's got nowhere to go but just dissipate.
Right.
Because it's not coming back. The circuit's not going to be.
It's broken. Mm-hmm.
Broken. Yeah. So one of the great things that, you know, in these London marches and marches around Britain has been the joy, the laughter, and the love that people have been showing.
Yeah.
And the lack of aggression and fury, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to shout no, you just have to mean it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no,
Yeah.
not doing it. No, not doing it. No. It's the action of no, the action that follows no, that makes the difference, not how much you shout it. I don't mean you can't get passionate and all that stuff, but in the end, if you don't meet aggression with aggression, then aggression loses its power. Because what happens is, because of this circuit, aggression is getting a feedback loop,
right,
between two sides that apparently opposing to each other, but they're generating the same energy.
mm-hmm.
And Wetiko's going, hey, gotcha. Whereas you know, when you're coming from love, and it's no, not doing it. No, I'm not going to get aggressive. All the best to you, but I'm not doing it. No.
Yep.
That's a very different energy, and it has the same effect because you're just not doing it.
You
won't do it. You won't acquiesce.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I saw a Canadian guy getting arrested in a classroom because he wasn't wearing a mask. And I think it was the University of Alberta. And there was 50 people there was sitting with masks on, watching him get arrested. And I just thought, imagine if everybody just stood up and took the mask off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just took it off.
But that's
then what?
There's two things that make people acquiesce. One is unquestioning obedience. They just don't know how not to acquiesce, or even think that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's those that don't want to do it, but are too frightened not to do it. They're the two groups. And you know, the people that are going to turn this around are those that can see it and won't do it. That's the group. That's the power center of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because without the not doing it, you might as well not see it.
Yeah. And how do we empower people? That group of people is just modeling it ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, to do it by example. You know, when you're saying to others, just say no, you must be saying no.
Yeah,
you must have no compromise on no. I know I've seen people who've talked about some of this stuff, and then they go and get jabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know,
I struggle with the mask and the flying, right? Because I haven't gone anywhere because I will not wear a mask, right? No. I've not done anything. I've not gone anywhere. I'm not wearing the mask. Once I realized that the mask was bullshit because it didn't work, I did the science, did the research. I'm like, I'm absolutely not wearing this. I'm not an actor in a play. I'm not doing this.
The mask is just more than a symbol, but certainly a symbol of submission. That's what a mask is. And de-individualization, and dehumanization. That's why they're doing it. I mean, you know, there's a woman in Britain on the scientific advisory group to the UK government called Susan Mikey, and she's been pressing for masks, and she's not a doctor. She's a behavioral psychologist. So that's what it's all about. And she's also the leading member of the British Communist Party, by the way, advising the government.
Oh,
but anyway, yeah, you know,
we have one of those over here too.
The world is absolutely crazy. But that's the thing, you know. It's like, well, if you don't do what we tell you, you won't be able to do this. Well, I won't do it then.
Yep.
You won't be able to go on. You won't be able to fly abroad. Well, I won't fly abroad then.
Yeah. The only thing I would like to get into the same area as my sister, because we've talked about this at length. We can have fun in McDonald's. We don't care where we are. We're just ridiculous, hysterically laughing most of the time. So it doesn't really matter what you do to us. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah. Laughter is absolutely essential. And also laughing at these people. You see, they're very insecure there. I mean, people may find that hard to believe. These are all powerful elite. They're very, very insecure people. They're very frightened people because they know that any minute now the game could be up.
Yep.
So they whistle in the dark, right? And part of it is, oh, we're all powerful. What are you trying to convince me or yourself, mate?
Good point.
And they, their insecurity means they have to be taken seriously, and you have to feel intimidated by them, because that's part of their security shield when that's happening. When you bloody laugh at them, then you totally disarm them because they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
No, when I say you've got to do this or else, you should be intimidated and do it. Well, I'm not doing it. No. What can you explain why I should do what you say? You're a moron, right? You're a moron. Why should I do what you say? And you're asking me to do.
Who are you?
You're a moron telling me to do moronic things.
Yeah.
And if I do them, then I'm a bigger moron than you are, and I'm not.
That was the point of putting all these celebrities up on pedestals, so we could feel like they could be more tools for them to tell us what to do. And I could give a crap about a celebrity. I don't. You're an employee.
How many celebrities have you ever heard go against the government narrative of anything?
Exactly.
This is it. Mick Jagger, right? I mean, I was born in 1952. I saw the Rolling Stones. Oh, the Rolling Stones, they're anti-establishment. Mick Jagger.
Right. Yep.
He goes and accepts a knighthood from the bloody Queen. Kneels down to get the sword on the shoulder. Oh, he's Sir Mick Jagger.
So anti-establishment.
Oh God! And then all these Sir Elton John.
Well, the Woodstockers, they get me. The boomers get me, because I'm like, weren't you? You were at Woodstock. You thought you were, going against the establishment. You were all that. Now all of a sudden you're like, jab me 4 times.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, this is why I called the lady's book "Perceptions of a Renegade Mind," because the renegade mind
so good.
is different from a critically thinking mind. Critically thinking mind can see things but still cooperates with what it can see. Renegade mind won't do that. No way. Renegade can't really. It won't do it. I mean, it will critically think.
It's almost like you can't. You just can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't. Because
it's not in me to. I can't do that.
Yeah, you've got a renegade frequency, if you like, which is an insulation against self-respect deletion. You can't do it. I was like this at school when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do things because somebody in authority tells me. Give me a good reason to do it.
Yeah. And I'll consider it.
Yeah, because you make it make sense, but I'm not going to do it just because you're going to tell me. I'm not going to do it. And I was a bit of a rebel at school, but not a rebel without a cause. I just I was just someone that I'm not doing it if you're just telling me to do it, because I won't do it. And I was like that with my parents, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me to do it, and you explain why I should do it. And I'm fine, yeah, no problem. But tell me to do it in a kind of or else way.
Yeah, feels gross.
Sorry, I'm not doing it. In fact, the more you tell me to do it, the least likely I am to do it. It's just been part of me all my life.
My son said that to me the other day. We were at an animal shelter picking up some cats for our barn, and I was questioning the lady because I the Humane Society's a racket in itself, and I was questioning the lady about something, and then he just walked away. And when we got in the car, he goes, "You got a problem." He goes, "Someone tells you what to do, and it's automatically you're going to do what they don't want, what you don't want them to do."
Yeah. I mean, I have been like that, all my life. The more you try to force me to do something, I'm just less likely to do it every time you try.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes I wish I wasn't like that, because these people are just sailing through. Oh, la, la, la. Everything's fine. And I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but they're sailing through with complete shite going through their body now.
Yeah. So, yeah. And there's a lot of pain ahead.
Yeah, because, life is about choice and consequence. That's what it's about. You make choices, you take the consequence of the choices. And
yep.
Jab or no jab is sure. I can't imagine a bigger choice in terms of potential consequences between have and have not.
No, nothing we've faced in our lifetime. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much. I've taken up too much of your time, but I just love talking to you. I could talk to you probably for 2 more hours.
Yeah, it was a lovely chat. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I want to just give you a chance to tell everybody where to go get your book, your website. I subscribe to it. It's amazing. Iconic's awesome. Gareth's new show out, I love too. So plug into all things Icke at what's the web address?
Yeah, it's iconic.com. That's our media platform. It's amazing. My son Jamie created it 2 years ago. It's just past his 2nd birthday. It's extraordinary what he's done in 2 years.
There's so much content on there.
Yeah, and more going on all the time. I do a show now, which is I do about an hour and a half, going through the news of the week and dot connecting. The context, what it really means, as opposed to what they're telling us it means. And then you've got right now with Gareth on a Friday, we get some great guests. And I tell you what's interesting now is that, because of all the ridicule and stuff I got, all things Icke were like that.
Right.
Anyone mainstream, oh no, but that's changing. And now you get mainstream people coming on.
Yeah.
Because, suddenly it's not such a downer to be associated with an Icke anymore.
No, I think it's actually the opposite.
It's quite funny. DavidIcke.com is the main hub where I do the news stories every day and the videos and stuff. Yep. And the Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, you can
highly recommend it.
You can get it through the website. But it is shipped from within North America. It's shipped out of the United States. So it's not that it has to come from Britain or anything. It's shipped within the United States. And it's gone down very well, yeah. And I'm just writing another one.
It's a great one stop for a lot of things, is what I found. You have a lot of stuff in there. And if someone really wants to understand it, that would be a great place to go.
Yeah, what I've tried to do over the years is connect the dots, because you can see individual things and you think, well, what's going on there? Oh, that's interesting. What's happened there? Oh, yeah. But when you connect the dots, the picture appears, and suddenly everything starts to fall into place. Why things are happening, why they do what they do, how this is connected to that, it's connected to that, and why they're doing that now and they're doing that here. It just opens the world up once the dots are.
It sure does. And your new book that you're working on now, can you give us a hint?
Well, I was going to write it about something, and within 3 days it gone somewhere else. I mean, I'm still incorporating the earlier information, but it's not the focus anymore. It's going to be explaining in dot connected detail what the matrix is and how it works.
Oh,
how we can escape it. And I'll go into these other levels and lots of things about it. It's all about that. It's all about the matrix.
Wow. I can't wait for that. Thank you so much for being on the Naturally Inspired podcast today. Everyone, go get Perceptions of Renegade Minds. You will not be disappointed. Thank you, David Icke.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Bye.
Bye. If the Naturally Inspired movement makes sense to you, let's do this together and transform the medical model and help people take charge of their health. Learn more about how you can join the Naturally Inspired movement by going to naturallyinspiredadvocate.com or call me at 970-475-4862. Find amazing interviews with people like David Icke, Max Egan, frontline doctors, and more at naturallyinspiredpodcast.com. Connect with me directly at tammycuthbertgarcia.com. Support our amazing team. Help us defeat censorship and become a subscriber for only $5 a month at livenaturallyinspired.com. Find me on all social media platforms at connectwithtammy.com.